Tetson's tired body sprawled out over his bed, a thick pallet of wool resting atop a straw thatching. He was deathly tired, but rest seemed to evade him, skulking between his wandering thoughts and petty agitations. He slumped his head to the right and allowed the flame of his heart to light his eyes, and the crackling of its voice to whisper comforts that echoed into his ears. He was confounded by his friend's statement. What did Waka's reputation matter compared to his life, to the lives of the Lamorans in his hunt, or to the empty bellies of those counting on the success of the hunt? His anxious mind intensified the chill of the night, and he pulled his blanket closer in response. His quandary was none of his concern. He should have been resting, preparing himself for the howling flame tomorrow. That was his rational mind speaking, pleading with him to be at peace, loudly being drowned out by the screams of a heart which held the hunt in high esteem. He forced his eyes closed and got up from his bed. Sleep would not find him tonight. The chill of the night crept along his frame, nipping at every hair and inch of exposed skin until he was thoroughly covered in goosebumps. Damn Takchali for opening his mouth. The next morning was just as rough for him. He emerged from his home, parting the doorway cloth and allowing the morning sun to greet him. His eyes stung with the weight of fatigue, and he growled in annoyance. His eyes, brimmed in darkness and soaked in vibrant gray, parsed over the now stirring Lamorans as they greeted the day with him. He pulled his shawl tighter and allowed mounds of dreads to cover his eyes and shoulders, hiding his face from view. He had a mind to march back into the bed. Probably would have served him better anyway. The howling flame was tonight. He'd need his energy for that. You're the best type of company to have, Tetson. You always have someone whispering, sang a sweet voice behind him. The tired Lamoran glared over his shoulder with muscles tensed in fatigue and anger. His eyes found a friend, Bia. He turned to face her, eyeing her long white-tipped hair and brass jewelry as he calibrated his face to be more welcoming. He sighed and tilted his head back, blowing misty morning air out towards the sky. Who's talking? He probed. Bia chuckled and covered her face. The old ladies at the market, the young ladies at the nursery, and then all the men in pretty much most of the village. Her eyes betrayed the laughter that her mouth was holding back. Tetson knew her discipline wouldn't last long and turned to face away from her as her laughter beat against his back. Through that laughter, she continued the conversation. Can't you go on one day without ruffling someone's feathers? He ignored her question, which fed the fire for more playful prodding. You're talented, really. I think you could piss off half the tribe from your bedchambers. Tetson turned to face her again, clearing his hair from his brow so that she could see his eyes. You're not funny, he growled in a low, mourning voice. Oh, it wasn't a joke, she quickly retorted. You take a walk down the road real quick, and let's see how many people begin to whisper as you walk by. Or better yet, let's just go ask the children. They won't care enough for you to hide their parents' words from your ears. Her remarks, although shallow in their injury to him, were added to the plentiful scratches and scrapes of the past day. He felt the breeze of the morning and the rising sun on his shoulders through the open wounds. Bia's hands held not the knife, but they were also devoid of the balm. Tetson turned to face the rousing community. His shawls pulled tight as his feet graced the slagstone roads on the way to the markets and the coast. Bia followed close behind, still burning his ears with gentle criticisms and jokes. "What's the plan for the night, Tetson? Are you bringing fire to the flame?" Bia inquired. "Are you asking because you already know the answer?" Tetson retorted. "I'm asking because you need to stop being such a loner," Bia snapped quickly. Her hand touched the small of his back, and her pace overtook his with a confident stride. She glanced back over her shoulder through a veil of snow-stained hair that caught the light of her gray eyes. "Not all who talk about you whisper against you, Mbia." The markets were abuzz today. It seemed as if most Lamorans had waited until the last day to buy most of their foods and tools for tonight's celebration. Even Granny Na had her hands full. She was secretly one of Tetson's favorite people. She was a little old woman who owned a fruit cart. Na was the only one in town who grew mull, a fruit normally only found in the forests and plains on the other side of the gorge. Her home was surrounded by a curtain of mull bushes, and the Lamorans gave her steady business when they were in season. Tetson liked them. He was particularly fond of the way they smelled when he threw the rinds on the fires of his camps and hearth. His waistband always had at least one of the dried rinds, ready for him to toss into the flame. "Granny Na, Umbia, are your purse strings stressed?" Tetson blessed. The old woman's face lit up, and a smile parted her wrinkles as she returned the blessing. "Tetson, Umbia, my heart was missing you." Granny rasped to the young man as she clasped his hand in hers. She chuckled softly before reaching out for a fruit and placing it in Tetson's hand. "How are you celebrating tonight?" the granny asked. She glanced over at Bia and then back at him, the arc of her smile now matching the curve of her raised brow. "I'm going to the coast," he hummed. "I felt something. I need to explore it more, I think." Granny's eyes darted again towards Bia, and then back to Tetson. "You'll add a proud year to my life if you do me this one favor, Bia." Her now outstretched hand motioned him closer to her, allowing her gentle whisper to find a seat in his ear. "Take calm on your thoughts of the road ahead of you. Allow yourself to realize the fruits that are already so ripe in your hands." Her quivering hands guided him closer to her, to receive a kiss on the top of his head. He took a quick knee and placed the side of his face against the top of her hand and made room for Bia to move forward and do the same. "Umbia umlo," they both sang to her. "Umbia umlo." The rest of their morning carried on in a similar fashion, gathering things for the celebration, talking about the events of recent hunts and other events, and then parting ways as they each went back home. Tetson lowered himself to place the top of Bia's hand against his cheek and stood tall to hug her before retreating into the solitude of his home. As he passed the curtain of his doorway, he resisted the urge to look back at her for a final word. He knew the gravity of their hearts and how it would be too heavy if the weight of words were added to it. He often thought of himself as an unnecessarily cruel person at times, even though most of the time he never meant to be. The flame of his heart was fragile, and he often found it hard to keep it lit in the company of others. The love they tended towards him though meant to stoke the flames, mostly only ever pulled valuable heat from the smoldering embers. Retreating back to his bed, he stripped away his shawl and coverings, placed them all into a basket in the corner, and threw himself across the bed to find rest again, until the sky was crowned with the moon.